At this time, I would like to introduce our next speaker, President Jeff Schmid, President and CEO from the Federal Reserve Bank of Kansas City, who just joined last month, or August, 2 months ago. Sorry, we're in October. Previously, President Schmid served as President and CEO of the Southwestern Graduate School of Banking at Southern Methodist University. He's also a former FDIC field examiner and has led several banking institutions over the course of his career. So we talk about just the diversity of our audience: regulators, academics, community bankers. Jeff, you kind of check all these squares. In addition to one of the institutions that he led is Mutual of Omaha Bank, where he served as chairman and CEO. As I noted, we pride ourselves on having a conference audience comprised of such diverse perspectives, and we're so glad that President Schmid is here today. Please join me in welcoming President Jeff Schmid.
All right, good morning, everybody. Great to see you today, and it's great to be here. Patience on my voice. I was in Omaha visiting family. That's where I'm pretty much from, and all my allergies kicked up. So my voice is somewhere between the sultry musings of Barry White and Paul Volcker after 5 cigars. I don't know which. It is a real high honor to be here, and it's actually a very high honor to take on this role as the president of the Federal Reserve Bank in Kansas City. I really grew up my career in Kansas City, kind of an odd, interesting side story. When I got married in 1986, I got a promotion down to Kansas City. We bought our first house in Lenexa, Kansas, my wife and I, and our first daughter was born there in 1989, and she and her husband live there today. So I'm moving from Dallas, where I was at SMU, and kind of really going back home to Kansas City. And so I feel completely at home in the 10th District, and I feel completely at home here with all of you because I feel like I've lived and am living a lot of what you do every day. So, along with the Conference of State Bank Supervisors, the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, and my colleagues at the Federal Reserve System, it is a pleasure to welcome you all to this Community Banking Research Conference. I'd like to extend a special thanks to our hosts, Interim President and CEO Kathy Pace, and the Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis for hosting us. I'd also like to extend my thanks to Jim Fuchs for leading the conference's planning efforts. You and your team have put together an amazing and excellent program. If you would indulge me, I would also like to recognize someone that's here today that has served the Federal Reserve Bank Kansas City for 2.5 decades and is retiring here in about 60 days. Many of you know Diane Rayleigh. Diane, if you'd stand up, I'd be recognized. She's retiring here, and I'm pretty certain she didn't want to train a third bank president in Kansas City, but she's been an amazing force in our bank and in the system-wide. So I'm the freshman central banker, and I feel like this is a very important conference to really burrow into some extremely sensitive and I think visionary type of topics relative to this whole concept of community banking. It's a vascular system that really runs the country, and I'm so happy that you're pushing forward some of these ideas and concepts as we move into this next couple days. Also like to recognize Jim Cooper. I really appreciate what Jim does. I love what CSBS is. Another side story about Jim, he welcomed me to his office literally, I think, 3 hours after I had attended my first FOMC meeting, where I just had gotten done giving my economic outlook and my insights on what I would do if I was voting. And Jim was so accommodating, and I think he probably recognized I was still a little bit nervous after that whole experience. But Jim, it's really good to see you here today. The community banking continually demonstrates a willingness to understand the unique needs and challenges of our borrowers, often providing personalized support to households and businesses alike. More broadly, community bankers are often community leaders too, serving in local organizations that promote civic engagement and helping to foster the ties that bind our communities together. In these many ways, community banks stand as a pillar of support in neighborhoods across this country. I know this is true not only because of research and reports, but I lived this as a community banker for a majority of my career. For all these reasons, I commend the sponsoring organizations for continuing to support this unique conference. For more than 10 years, you have brought together a diverse group of participants. All have a vested interest in the health and vitality of community banking landscape. Through the dialogue that happens here, bankers, policymakers, academics, and agency staff are all better able to understand the needs and goals of community banks, as well as the challenges they face, and there are many. Undoubtedly, the conversations, discussions, and knowledge exchange that happens over the next 2 days helps to ensure a brighter and more productive future for the community banking industry. The conference agenda over the next 2 days promises to be engaging and thought-provoking. We will hear from regulatory leaders at both the federal and state level. I really am excited to get to know Lisa Cruz from North Dakota. We have a really interesting side friendship with Tim Karski, who some of you may know, who was the former commissioner of banking. Tim and I were practicing FDIC examiners back in the 80s, and so I love this connection that we're making with North Dakota. We also hear from community bankers, regulatory agency staff, and members of the media. This year's research sessions will touch on recent events such as rising interest rates and the effects of natural disasters, as well as the perennial issue of assessing credit risk. Given the urgency with which the industry has recently been forced to confront rising rates and extreme weather events, it is particularly commendable to have these two topics represented on the agenda. We have two excellent poster sessions that take an in-depth look at fintech competition and staffing concerns at banks. The conference will also look toward the industry's future as it welcomes both emerging academic scholars and winners of the case study competition from the University of Tennessee at Martin. Congratulations to all of these conference participants on their achievements. Finally, the conference will conclude with the presentation of the John W. Ryan Award for Best Research Paper. This award honors the late president and CEO of CSBS, John Ryan's commitment both to the careful analysis of community banking issues as well as the lasting legacy of this conference. I thank you again for joining us over the next 2 days. I look forward to many engaging discussions. With that, the main event. I would like to introduce my Federal Reserve colleague, Governor Mickey Bowman. Governor Bowman has been a member of the Federal Reserve Board since 2018. Prior to her Federal Reserve appointment, she served as Kansas State Banking Commissioner for 2 years and Vice President of Farmers and Drovers Bank in Kansas. She also held staff positions in the U.S. House and Senate, as well as FEMA and the Department of Homeland Security. Please join me in giving Governor Bowman a very warm welcome. It's great having you.